Michael, thank you so much for being with us here today. Today is a special day. The best workplaces in India are gathered. Their CEOs and chief people officers and CXOs are here today to celebrate in the midst of a very extraordinary situation. And for a change, we can't say this is India or this is US. It is global. How has the last 60 or 75 odd days been for you, Michael? It must be something really new, even by the global benchmarks of Great Place to Work. But over to you, Michael. What are your opening thoughts?
Thank you, Prasenjit, and I'm honored to be here to be a part of this amazing celebration. And first, I want to congratulate the 75 companies that have been recognized already as best workplaces in India. When you're a best workplace, as you are in India, it makes you one of the best workplaces in the world. India is a very competitive market, so congratulations on what you've done. And I know there's 25 more companies that are going to find out some very exciting news. So I just want to congratulate those companies in advance. As you know, Prasenjit, we do work in 98 countries around the world. We survey over 10,000 companies every year. We know a lot about working people. We survey over 10 million people a year. And at no time in the history of Great Place to Work have we experienced something where working people around the world are experiencing the same thing, which is the virus. So now we have people who are worried about their physical health, their mental health, and their emotional health, and their financial well-being all at the same time. In this very destructive way, the world is unified, having this fear in the workplace that people are trying to manage, live with, and work as well in a very different way. And then, if that's not enough, we have cases of racism, which are, and separatism, things that are dividing us at this time. I'm doing this video from the US where our tension is at its peak. We probably haven't had this kind of tension in the US in 50 years, where racism is at its peak, where for whatever reason, there's a group of people who feel they are superior and different than another group of people, even though we're all human beings. So this feeling that some humans have, this need of being better than other people because of what they physically look like, or perhaps what they believe in, still plagues our society around the world. So you put these two viruses together, one is 7 months old, the other one is 400 years old in the US, this racism, you put them together, it's created an extraordinary situation that I believe when you put them together in this way, it's made them both far more intense, but yet it creates great opportunity for us going forward.
I think in a sense, some of these dichotomies and dilemmas have been highlighted like never before. In India, we had the scenes of millions of people who are migrant workers in our big cities, literally walking back hundreds and hundreds of miles back to their cities during the lockdown, and with very limited food and water. And in a way, it has highlighted the contrasts that is very disturbing. And we have always said that if, for example, in US, the top 1% has as much wealth as the bottom 80%. In India, that figure would be maybe around 77%, or in terms of the wealth that the top 10% Indians have. So is the model itself wrong, or what do you see happening here? Why is it that when we are creating wealth in organizations and the people have so much influence, we are not able to create a society which is a society for all?
Well, as you know, Prasenjit, we believe in creating places that are just like the room that you're sitting in right now, which is a room full of people who believe in a great place to work for all, a room full of people that believe that we respect everyone. And no matter who they are or what they do in an organization, they should be respected and they should be cared for, not just for what they do at work, but they should be cared for as a person. And this, unfortunately, is an aspiration that is higher than what people experience in society. So the great thing about being a great place to work for all, like the people who are in the room during this celebration, is that we have the opportunity to create an experience for working people that is actually, unfortunately, better than maybe what they experience in society. And when we say great place to work for all, we not only mean our employees, we actually care about the companies that supply our business and their employees. We care about all people, because being a great place to work for all, to really care about people, you can't just care about some people. You have to care about all people. And we just believe that if you do that, it's better for your business. The data proves that. Our companies outperform those who don't believe in this way of leading. It's obviously better for the people, and we believe that's better for the world. So through business being a force for good, we're able to create things that society and politics have been unable to produce.
And it's fascinating because all the companies which are there today and who are the top 100 best companies, over 90% of their employees say I'm treated fairly regardless of my religion, my caste, my color, sexual orientation, or anything else that you can think of. So in a sense, we know how to do that. We have been doing it in the best workplaces, and therefore there's an ideal which is not a theoretical ideal, it is a practical reality which exists. Moving on to the current context of the pandemic and the impact that it has had on almost all industries, this is something that probably nobody ever expected. Yet, the best workplaces and their leaders are dealing with it in a qualitatively different way. You have been personally interacting with the CEOs of some of the best organizations. What is so different about the way these leaders are going about this particular crisis? And is there something that we can learn from them?
I think what we can learn is what many leaders who are with you this evening, that are with you today, have actually done, which is you have to put people first. That if you have a situation of someone working from home, they're going to be working from home. It's going to be harder to work from home because there are children and family members and other distractions. You have to be aware that that's going to be different and think about how you can help make that the best situation you can for that person. You can't do everything, but there are things that you can do. If you do a spreadsheet analysis first of the financial ramifications of one decision or another, the caring and that feeling is going to be much weaker. So companies that decide we're going to put our people first and we're going to think about them and realize they are worried about their family members, they are worried about their society, they are worried about their community, and they're worried about their physical health, and you start making decisions based on that first, you're going to do much better. And companies who have done that, many of whom are being celebrated in the 100 best listing, are doing much better than those who haven't been doing that. We have been contacted all around the world from companies that are reaching out to us at Great Place to Work and saying, I don't have much trust in our workforce and I don't really trust my people, but how do I create trust now? And all we say to them is, it's too late. It's very hard to create trust when people are working and sheltering in place if you didn't have trust in the first place. So companies who have always believed in putting their people first are doing much better now. and they're going to do much better in the weeks to come. They're going to financially get back to doing business in an environment with more growth compared to companies that did not have the trust in the first place. So as we know, putting people first pays off, and it's really going to pay off for companies now and in the months to come.
This is something we have been hearing from so many of the best workplaces, many of whose leaders are here today with us. And one of the things which I heard, and I was frankly amazed, is that even though none of them were prepared to have 100% of their employees or very large percentage work from home, they actually reported increase in productivity. It's not that they had systems and processes to monitor and review what an employee was doing every minute, but somehow the trust that was already there in the relationships between the management and employees got reciprocated, and they could, in a sense, encash it in a crisis like this, where employees voluntarily are giving far more than they need to. And is that a common experience that you see elsewhere as well?
It is a common experience. One of the most fascinating things that we've been able to watch is companies who have been doing brainstorming about the future of work. And there's one company that runs call centers all around the world that's a customer of ours, a very, very, very large company. And they have been doing future of the work studies. And one of the things that they were imagining is in 2030 or 2035, having distributed call centers, which is people not going to one place in one building and being able to be providing call center services from anywhere. And they felt that would happen in 20 or 30 years. Well, it's happening now. The unimaginable has happened now, and in 3 to 4 weeks, many of them have made that transition. So 2 months ago, it was 3 months ago, unthinkable. Now, not only have they made the transition, but their productivity has increased, just exactly like you've mentioned. So for many companies, as they envision the future has already come to them. And they've proven, if they are great places to work, that they can quickly make the adaptation, that their people are much more agile because they trust the people that they work for, and they trust the people that they work with, and therefore they make the adjustment and they get to work, and they deliver great work for their teammates and great work for their customers.
And I think one thing that probably does not change but become even more important is the level of trust that you have with your people and your stakeholders. What is a great place to work in future? And are things going to be very different when you have a lot of people doing remote working, for example, and where digital clearly is going to have an edge over physical in many interactions? So it's very early to take any puns, but what's your take on the future?
My take on the future is that trust is going to become even more important, because we are going to be working in distributed ways where you can't watch what people are doing, and there's going to be much more of a reliance on digital, on machines, and people, and that combination of the three. And it's going to be 24/7, and people are working in distributed ways. And the pace of change things will never be as slow as they are today. That's just going to increase, which means businesses, machines are going to provide information to them. The business is going to have to change right now. And if people trust you, they will change right now. And they will put themselves 100% into the work to make sure that there's a great outcome for the customers. So trust is going to become more important than in any other time. And being a great place to work for all is going to become more important than any other time, because the innovation that we've experienced, which is probably more than in the last decade, we've experienced in the past 3 months. the rate of innovation. It's amazing what companies are doing now and how they are doing things and how they are thinking about the future. Well, that innovation speed is not going to slow down. Companies aren't going to want to become less innovative and slower. They're going to want to move even faster. Well, diversity is going to drive that innovation. So it's the digital transformation plus new ideas and experiences and making sure we're listening to everyone and involving everyone in the work and making everyone feel like they matter. Companies that can put that puzzle together are going to outperform those that don't.
You know, this is interesting. Just today morning, somebody talked about how high tech is going to help in high touch, and it's not replacing high touch. And the fact that we no longer have Gen Z and millennials and Gen Y. We are all the Corona generation now, and we don't have to spend lots of money on expensive consultants doing change management. People are far more open to change. And in a sense, I think the COVID-19 virus, in a perverse way, has actually done something that would have normally taken us maybe 5 to 10 years. You know, the pace of change, etc., that you were talking about. And I think probably going forward, we will have to look at involving a lot more people than we have in the past, and that diversity of thinking and inclusion is going to be a key. But there's also going to be probably a lot of people who may or may not be able to handle the pace and the stress, and therefore related to that, wellness is going to become very critical. What are your views, Michael?
Yep. If we care for a person, we have to care for the whole person. So we have to care about a person's physical well-being. We have to care about a person's emotional well-being. We have to care about a person's psychological well-being. And we have to care about a person's financial well-being. We have to care about all these things, or you're not really caring about the person, you're caring about the employee. So this is we've already begun this. COVID forced that. It forced that. So we've been disrupted and have been forced to realize that we're all the same. We all care about our parents as they age. We all care about our children. We all care about our families. We all care about our neighbors. We're the same. And you can't expect people to come to work and forget those things. People need to be able to work knowing you have the same kinds of concerns and you're open and flexible in finding ways for them to succeed in their life. So that has already been disrupted. The other thing is that as COVID has disrupted the way we view each other, because it's reminded us that we are the exact same. If we look at the racism that the US has experienced over the past, and then you look in Berlin, Germany, where 500,000 people younger than age 35 marched to the streets protesting the racism they saw in the US. They weren't talking about the racism in Berlin, Germany. And by the way, this is Berlin, Germany. Think about that. These people went into the streets and said, that's wrong. That is wrong. It's happening very far from us, but that is simply wrong. Their parents wouldn't have done that. This is a new generation that is no longer interested in fixing the world in 25 years. They want to change the world now. And the way that we relate to each other, they want to make that change now. And they're going to make that change now. I'm very inspired by seeing that world response to racism. And people just saying, you can't pretend that we believe in fairness and equality and respect if we sit idly by watching people getting treated very poorly just basically because of the color of their skin or maybe what they believe in. So this shift has occurred. We can't go back in time. I believe this shift is is very positive, and companies who understand that and who realize that just profit and just cash flow and just market share, a lot of people aren't going to want to work for an organization that's just doing those things, because the problems in society are too great. People want to work for organizations who are doing those things and are caring about them, and together they're looking to improve society.
I think that's a very strong message that you leave the audience with. And in India, for example, in the last 75 days, there's a whole generation that actually got used to breathing fresh air. It's as simple as that, because they have never had the opportunity to breathe air which is not polluted. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult for people to stop this generation from expecting that their leaders, political or corporate leaders, stand for what is right and not just the top line and the bottom line. And I think that's a very strong message to the audience here. Your last few comments before we open up the discussion for Q&A. Michael?
My last few comments, Prasenjit, are number one, to congratulate the remarkable companies who are with us that we're honoring. Being a great place to work for all is not easy. There's an easier way to do business, but this gives our life meaning. It changes us, and will continue to change us as the world changes. And in that way, our businesses are going to outperform those who don't do this. So I just want to celebrate what you're doing and inspire you to continue, because not only is it good for your company, but other companies are wanting to be your company. They want to be on the list of 100, and that is good for society.
Thank you so much. And with this, we will have question and answers for Michael. Michael, thank you again for joining us all the way from US.